If you were scared of private equity yesterday, you should be absolutely terrified today. Because right now, private equity is trying something new, and it appears it's working. And it could fundamentally change everything that is good and ethical that is left in our society. Let's get into it. Earlier this year, it was announced that Nexus Corporation was acquiring the ACT, the standardized test that allows students admission to college. Now, that in and of itself is not great. Obviously, we don't want them in higher education, but what really matters about this is that the ACT was a nonprofit. That's right, they were a nonprofit. That means there was government oversight and that their duty was to the mission and never ever to a shareholder. But what's happening is that Nexus, private equity, they are taking it from a nonprofit to a for-profit. But they've built generations of goodwill of people believing they were nonprofit and that the profit was to help people do better in life, to get an education. They're going to exploit those generations of goodwill that the ACT has built up with people. They're probably not going to tell anybody that they're now for profit. They're just going to keep sending them emails, and they're going to start to exploit more and more money out of families. Now, there's a couple reasons that this is terrifying. Obviously, we have on the one side that they're getting into higher education, and they're not alone, right? Just this week, it was announced that KKR is buying up all of the student loan debt that was previously held by Discover. And they bought it for more than the market value of the debt, which means that they're going to expend every resource to terrorize, chase, and follow those students that have that debt to the ends of the earth. They will never, ever give on a single dollar or dime because they paid $800 million more than it was worth. They will exploit every single collection fee, right? So that's one issue. Set that aside. Coupled with that, we have that Ellucian recently was bought by Blackstone. Now, they are a massive company that provided technology services for education. All right, Evergreen Capital Management, they just spent $130 million about Dreambox Learning, another support system for education. And then we have Onex and Vista, and they just bought PowerSchool, another technology for schools company. Then on top of that, we have Nexus, the same company that just bought the ACT, that bought Savast Learning. They provide all of the materials for schools. And what you have here is a spiral that is building and building, that is finding that they believe, at least somewhere on the horizon, that they're going to be able to make more money off of our school districts than they would in a private for-profit situation. So they're buying up these companies knowing that the government is going to write those checks. But let's get back to the for-profit problem, because when a company buys a nonprofit, and this isn't the first time that it's happened, but it's definitely a pivot in a direction that is really, really dark. When you buy a nonprofit and you take it for profit, you're buying all of the data, all of the research, all of the goodwill, the name, the intellectual property. Sorry for the background change. I just want you to think about what they could do with all of the data they just acquired. They now have the college admissions data of every single person that has ever taken the ACT, ever. This is not the first time that private equity has ventured into for-profit conversion of nonprofits. They started testing it with nonprofit nursing homes and hospitals with catastrophic results. Over a 10-year period, one study found 22,500 elderly people died unnecessarily because private equity took nonprofits to profit, cut their services, cut their care, cut their staffing to bad outcomes, higher mortality that doubled in most circumstances, and ultimately bankrupted all of the nursing homes and left the senior citizens homeless after they stacked them with debt. What if they bought up St. Jude's? What about No Child Hungry? What if they bought up Habitat for Humanity? What about Planned Parenthood? Or the YMCA, one of the last affordable summer child care programs that operates nationwide for American families? You see, all of those businesses have the potential for a for-profit model that immediately converts the good that they're doing into a profitable mechanism for cleaning more money out of the middle class, working class, and the poverty class, directed instead in the hands of billionaires. And what everybody needs to understand is that everything can be made into money if you're corrupt enough. The problem with private equity is that they are required to create constant returns on money even when there's nothing else to buy. So they will increasingly find more and more nefarious ways to take things that have been built on ethics, love, service, and community, and they will find ways to exploit us with that knowledge. Back in 2020, when the world was going to hell, Private equity CEOs from all across the United States, their general partners, convened in Billionaire Bunker, Idaho, and they had a meeting. It was determined then that they needed to buy up small businesses and pretend that they were still small, because they found that Americans had more trust in small businesses than almost any other institution, with trust in the range of 65 to 81%. You want to know one of the only things that was trusted more? Nonprofits. But if you ran out of small businesses to buy, or more likely, say the FTC and the DOJ suddenly started targeting you for regulation because of the exploitation of small businesses you were engaging in, you might see the writing on the wall and turn your attention in another direction. Say, perhaps, nonprofits as a brand new revenue stream that's wide open for you to come in and exploit. We are very quickly getting to the point where there is simply nothing left to consume. We have nothing left to give. The problem is that when everything is for sale and nothing is sacred, this is where we were always going to end up. That's why even for the people that are out here screaming for a free market, you have to understand that a free market is not truly free. When bad behavior is hidden, when all of the capitalist benefit only benefits the handful of a few, none of it is recirculated back into the economy. And all of us pay the price, while the 1% of the billionaires never do. I'm about to jump into a part 2 that does a deep dive on all of the nonprofits that they've acquired prior to this, because this one doesn't have enough room left. So follow me, follow, do all the things, and stick around. Because if we want to make a difference, it's going to take every single one of us, and I am so glad you're here.